Do you know how many zeros there are in a sextillion? Allow me to hydrate before I start. That was 1 sextillion, 670 quintillion oxygen atoms in one drop of water. By the way, there are 21 zeros in a sextillion. Now let's get started. I immigrated to America from Denmark in June of 1977, an engineering student ready to conquer America. I visited a state fair with farm animals, food booths, barrel racing, carnival games during my travels. At the outskirts were a small box with a chicken chasing back and forth. I went over and I chose to play tic-tac-toe with the chicken. I figured, how tough could that be? I paid my quarter, the light came on, and the chicken put a mark in the one corner, and I put one in the other corner, and pretty soon we were in the stalemate. We were allowed to move one item to a new location, and the stalemates continued. That is, of course, until I made a mistake. Chicken placed its mark, and I now had 2 places to go. The bell rang and the chicken got some corn, and I'm embarrassed to say I lost playing tic-tac-toe with a chicken. My friend laughed, and I believe the chicken joined in. It was a lesson in motivation. The chicken had to win in order to get something to eat. Thus, it was the most motivated. And then I couldn't believe it as I walked into a huge barn. They gave ribbons for the best-looking cow and pig. Now, it would make more sense if it was for the tenderest steak and the best grilled pork chop. After my travels throughout America in 1977, I changed to a student visa, and I soon met an awesome woman from Topeka, Kansas. And we got married in April of 1978 and started a large family. The last of our 8 children is a millennial born in June of 2000. We also have 15 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. We were extremely poor as the first 4 kids came, and I only made $4.50 an hour. When it was time for grocery shopping, it was about getting the most carbohydrates for the money. And that meant sometimes having hot dog spaghetti made with ketchup. When we went to the doctor with a sick child, we would often sit for an hour sharing the air with other sick people. When the doctor finally came for 2 minutes, he would state the obvious: your child has a throat infection or an ear infection, and prescribe us an antibiotic. The bill for this office visit was sometimes equal to 1 week's groceries. We quickly learned that prevention is much cheaper. Later, I got a job as a consultant for Fortune 500 company with a nice income. I would leave Monday morning and return Friday night, leaving my wife to raise our growing family. That, unfortunately, made a transformation for me. I'm not proud of it. When I came to America, I weighed 150 pounds and wore size 30 pants. Then I embraced the sad American standard diet of hotel food in the morning with a poor imitation of Danish pastry, fast food for lunch, and restaurant food for dinner. You can probably guess what happened. Yeah, it was a case of animal abuse, as I now place my 240 pounds, size 42, on top of my horse. When we later changed our diet, the buildup in my arteries from back then came full circle on Thanksgiving 2023, when I had a massive widowmaker heart attack, repaired by 3 stents. Well, let's get back to the story. In 1977, people will often visit the drugstore to get tinctures and natural supplements. Today, they stand in line to buy overpriced toxic pharmaceuticals. Was this progress? Do we have the best healthcare in the world? I love my adopted nation. However, healthcare and associated costs have a lot to be improved upon. As a nation, we spend 2.5 times the industrial average. At that price, we should have the best healthcare in the world. Well, America ranks number 37 among the industrial nations in terms of quality of healthcare. and changing it to a state-run system does not help. Denmark, the poster child for socialism, ranks number 34, and our neighbor to the north, the Canadians, rank number 30. Well, at least the healthcare system is safe. Or is it? Let's take a look. Lack of cellular oxygen is a contributor to heart attack that, for the most part, is preventable and has claimed about 650,000 lives. Lack of cellular oxygen is a direct cause of cancer that is often preventable and frequently curable, taking about 600,000 lives. The doctors take an oath. Above all, do no harm. The American Medical Association stated that the American healthcare system itself is the third leading cause of death in America, with 251,000 avoidable deaths. According to the CDC, that number includes the 1.7 million people who get hospital-acquired infections, where about 99,000 die annually. And those were pre-COVID-19 numbers. Well, don't blame the hospital. Ignorance of long-term consequences of lifestyle choices brought people to the hospital. Without insurance, my wife and I had to decide whom to trust, whether natural solution or pharmaceutical suppression of symptoms. After looking at those statistics, we chose to take our family health into our own hands and use natural solution as primary care and the medical industry as alternative care. While the average doctor have little, if any, nutritional and preventive instruction, I took many courses and I read many books and followed doctors who have changed their approach to a more holistic approach. I am now a wellness researcher and educator. I summarized it in a book I call Oxygen for Life, Keys to Health, and a free 16-screen digital theater. The choice was easy when contemplating how best to put the knowledge to use. I started Oxygen for Life, a not-for-profit organization. Our primary objective is to serve the veterans through the VFW and the American Legion organization and guide them to improve their quality of life. But that's a topic for another TEDx presentation. Along the way, I learned that, like a coal-fired plant, you only have one intake port, and the output is 90 millivolts of power under ideal conditions. But ask yourself, what would happen if the power plant lacked water, fuel, oxygen, or had corrosion due to free radical damage? Well, you would have a serious issue. Reducing the voltage is much like unplugging the power to your refrigerator. The water will go stale, the lipids will go rancid, the protein will start rotting, minerals will rust, and finally the carbohydrates will generate fungus. In this segment, we'll explore the most crucial atom. You would learn that lack of cellular oxygen is the root cause of most of what ails us. And increasing cellular oxygen is the key to recovery and prevention, especially in our senior years. Well, interestingly enough, 65% of your total weight is actually oxygen atoms. However, if that number goes down by 1%, you will have a 5% loss of energy. Each cell in our body is like a small city of organelles containing multiple mitochondria that produce the 90 millivolts of power we talked about. You will find the chromosome that you got from your parents inside the nucleus. The end cap on the chromosome is called telomere. It protects the DNA and are in charge of longevity. Each time your cell divides or replicates, the telomeres get shorter. Feed your mitochondria and protect your telomeres as if your life depends on it, because it really does. The key to cellular health is therefore to increase cellular oxygen by keeping the body in an alkaline condition, where the inner fluids have more oxygen than hydrogen. The best way to do that is to drink alkaline water. I wish I could take credit for discovering the key to cellular health. While I have over 10,000 hours in research and self-education, we must go back over 100 years to understand the root concept. In 1918, the First World War was going strong. A 30-year-old cavalry officer and frontline surgeon got an Iron Cross for a minor wound. As a friend of his family, Albert Einstein petitioned to have him released from war duty. Dr. Einstein did not want his friend, Otto Heinrich Warburg's talent to be wasted on the front line. Dr. Warburg had a dual degree in medicine and chemistry. He was a researcher at heart and wanted to understand the workings of tumors and cancers. Over the next 13 years, he got 26 Nobel nominations and in 1931 was awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for discovering how to create and heal tumors and cancers. In his Nobel speech, Otto Warburg stated that cancer, above all other diseases, have countless secondary causes, but even for cancer, there's only one primary cause: the lack of cellular oxygen. Dr. Warburg further stated, no disease, including cancer, can thrive in an alkaline environment and deprive a cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours, and it may become cancerous. However, doctors cannot monetize oxygen, and the pharmaceutical companies cannot make an oxygen pill. Therefore, his discovery has remained ignored until now. So let me explain Otto Warburg's research on pH in layman's terms. pH stands for potential hydrogen. I prefer PO, potential oxygen, as that is what regulates healing and prevention. If you become sick through stress or through what you eat and drink, your body will contain more hydrogen than oxygen and therefore be prone to sickness and inflammation. Let's take about 4 ounces of sugar. That equals 2 bottles of Coca-Cola containing 439 kilocalories of energy. That's enough to bring 3/4 of a gallon of water to a boil. But what if you convert it over to electricity? It can keep a 100-watt light bulb lit for 5 hours. For you to burn it, you would need to mountain walk with a backpack for an hour. But the real problem is the billions of oxygen molecules that are needed in order to metabolize the sugar, and that brings you into an acidic state, prone to disease. My grandmother was diagnosed with cancer in 1940 and was told, if we don't operate, you're going to die. Well, her female intuition said that if they did operate, she would die. So she turned to a nutritionalist who remembered that Dr. Warburg had found the cure for early-stage cancer in 1931. My grandmother became an extreme vegetarian and lived for another 35 years, free of cancer. She only lived on green foods and vegetables and herbs. I now knew that I had found the ultimate key to health, pH and cellular oxygen. I got a distributorship for a water electrolysis machine and one for a PEMF, pulse electromagnetic field energy device capable of increasing the oxygen and cellular performance, capillary performance, by 25 to 30%. Now I can assist people in reaching a higher quality of life. In 2010, I went to my dentist who said that he had contracted cancer after years of drilling in mercury-laden fillings. Through research, he knew that half of the patients die from the chemo and radiation treatment. That is why he opted to stop pursuing chemo and radiation. When I told him about my grandmother and showed him that he could now drink small clustered free radical scavenging alkaline water, he purchased a water electrolysis machine from me. Within a month, his energy returned. I later sold him a PEMF mat, and he said, I can now bend over my patients all day without discomfort. In 2010, he went to his oncologist for his annual checkup. The doctor told him, don't waste our time by coming here. You have been cancer-free for nearly a decade. I have enjoyed small cluster free radical scavenging water with over 10,000 times more oxygen for 20 years. And I have health improving PMF frequencies for nearly a decade. Aside from food poisoning in 1978, I've been blessed with incredible health. But let me tell you how high pH water saved my life. In March of 21, I inadvertently opened a back door to a severe case of COVID, which ravaged my lungs to only 17% lung capacity and blood oxygen below 80. During the 2 weeks in the hospital, the doctor's protocol of remdesivir and antibiotics was not beneficial, and even the hospital administrator gave up on me and would not give my wife any assurance of my return. I was like a massive fish out of water, gasping for air. The doctors allowed my family to bring colloidal silver, natural supplements, and alkaline water containing 30,000 times more oxygen than the source water. I survived the 2 weeks hospital stay. When released, I still only had 22% lung capacity, but my blood oxygen rose to 91%, thanks to the alkaline water. I knew that it was God, prayers, alkaline water, cellular stimulation, and my wife's care, and health-promoting meals that was the reason for my incredible full recovery. Do you or somebody you love need health improvement? Then change your water to small clustered high pH alkaline water and alkalizing food. Focusing on pH is much more beneficial than focusing on carbs, sugar, calories, salt, cholesterol. Those are all secondary. Over 85% of the people in America die from slow suicide by fork, by enjoying food and drink that are detrimental to their health. You see, the problem is not the problem. It's an indication of an underlying problem. By focusing on the obvious, we never solve the real issue. And we end up turning our retirement savings over to the medical system and assisted living. But not you. By understanding our bodies at a cellular level and consciously choosing to drink and eat alkalizing foods, our body will heal and prevent disease. We can enjoy our retirement years if we pay more attention to pH. Remember what Dr. Warburg stated: no disease, including cancer, can thrive in an alkaline environment. This essential key to health of alkaline living can bring